All right, everyone. It must be Friday because guess what? It's another Q&A with Alan and Marshall. I'm Marshall Atkinson.
I'm Alan Howe with Easy Way.
And no guests today. It's just us. It's just us
Yes.
monkeys today.
Right? And you know what? We got some awesome guests coming up in the next couple of weeks too.
We do. But it's just me and you today. I don't think you can handle it.
I don't know. We're going to have to, but it was fun. So it'll be fun.
So, been a busy week for both of us, and we were just commenting on how exhausted we are. We'll get into that later, I'm sure. But anyway, so what we like you to do is to say hello, right? So it's pretty easy. So just leave in the comment chat thing. Just say, hey, hello, how you doing, whatever. Let us know where you're watching from. That's always kind of fun. And then also, we would love it if you would share that you're watching the show. You know, we're all about building an audience here and trying to be relevant. Emphasis on trying. And that happens when you share, right? So we don't ask much from you people.
Yep. Okay. Just share it. That's all we want. Be friendly. Share.
Yeah. And then please, during our show, comment, ask questions. The reason why it's called Q&A is because we want your questions, okay? The witty comments, we like those, but the questions are what's really important, okay? So, because we're here to help you. That's our whole goal with this show, is to be a voice of reason, in an age of insanity, right? Or whatever that quote is, right? So anyway, so please share and ask questions, right? Some folks who have said hello. Josh is watching from Oklahoma. Good morning.
How you doing, Josh?
And Shane's here. Good morning.
Morning.
Lakeisha's here from Omaha, Nebraska. Good to see you. And Richard, of course, is here from Michigan.
Always.
And look, Mr. Lon's here. Good to see you.
We're so honored.
Gonna snow here in Colorado. Hey, it's 100 degrees here in Arizona.
It's been into the
I doubt it'll snow. So
it almost hit 80 here in Michigan, like it was like 77 degrees on Wednesday. They're saying Monday it could be cold enough we might see flakes again. Yeah, it's driving me insane.
Aren't you flaky enough for Michigan?
Much flaky, too flaky.
So anyway, so I'm glad that you guys are here. And I think it's going to be a fun show today. Really good topics. And again, we want your input. We want your questions. So, and by the way, the questions that you might have don't have to align with our topics. We just do the topics so we have something to talk about. Otherwise, we'll end up talking about movies and sports and barbecue, right?
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that, but that's not what the show's about.
Fishing and stuff like that. Yeah.
So
do a comedy.
Anyway, let's pay some bills. What do you think?
Let's do that from GSG. We love them.
We love GSG. So here is their promo commercial. Enjoy.
GSG, the combination of over half a century of knowledge with industry-leading technology and the customer at the center of everything that we do. Graphic Solutions Group is a powerhouse distributor of traditional screen, sign, wide format digital printing, embroidery, and textile decorating. We are committed to our customers, providing support, educational, and consulting services. Your success is our success. We've seen these industries grow and change in our 70 years. One thing never changes: GSG's dedication providing the best products and services available. We've been around, we'll be around, from the highs and the lows, standing right here with you. GSG, the right products, right away.
All right.
Here we are. We're back.
So anyway, thanks GSG. We appreciate you.
You know what? They do. I think they're at the ISA show right now in Vegas, and at the sign show, and then I know they're at DAC show Tiddly Park this weekend too. So
great. How about that?
They're everywhere, man.
2-for-1 special.
Absolutely. Always has great education. I know Lon does a thing with them on been doing it on channels and stuff with Photoshop. So
yeah, right. I'm a channels guy in Photoshop.
Yeah,
I love channels.
So.
Channels, using channels and the adjust image command and also LAB. Those are my favorite little Photoshop tools. And I just was speaking Greek to Alan. He has no idea what that is.
Not a clue. The art side out of my wheelhouse, like channels.
Yeah, right.
Channel 35, Netflix. No, not it.
Yeah, right. All right. So some more folks join us. So Hurley's here. Good morning.
Up in Canada.
Heather's here. Good morning.
From illustrious Cave City, Kentucky.
Sean's here. Good morning.
You doing, Sean?
Good seeing you folks. All right. So do you remember, without looking, what our first topic is? You just looked.
You would think I wrote it down, and I actually didn't. Bottlenecks.
Hey,
I had to think.
Yeah, you're on it today. You must have had some coffee or something.
Yep. I had coffee earlier. I'm drinking water right now.
All right. So what is a bottleneck, Alan? Describe it to me.
If you see a bottle of pop or a bottle of beer, it's the skinny part just before you drink on it.
All right.
But to say that where it is where things narrow. So where are the narrow channels in your processes? Where
that sounds to me it's the thing that's holding you back.
It is the thing that's holding you back.
So to me, a bottleneck, of course, is it could be a process, it could be a person, it could be a customer, it could be a consumable, it could be a piece of equipment, it could be anything.
It could be the lack of a piece of equipment.
It's the thing that just isn't working. And let me tell you, and I'm sure as soon as I say this, you're going to nod your head in agreement. You may not even know that you have a bottleneck.
Absolutely.
Because here's the thing, to quote our buddy Greg Kitson, it's like, you don't know what you don't know, right? Yep. And so the thing that's holding you back could be the fact that we've always done it this way, right? And how many times, Alan, have you heard from some shop owner that they don't want to get that piece of equipment or invest in a thing or whatever because they just don't have the money? And the problem is that they don't understand is they're already spending the money.
Absolutely.
They're spending the money with extra time, extra effort, extra shipping costs, extra labor, extra whatever, because of we don't want we don't want to change, or we're not open to change, or we're not open to solving the problem, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, if you were just to, one of the things I've had people do, by the way, is just to walk out on the shop floor and just stand there and observe and watch.
Absolutely.
Watch people work. What is somebody waiting on? Waiting is one of the biggest problems. Is just we're waiting on stuff. We're waiting on the ink to be mixed. We're waiting on the screens to come out of the screen room. We're waiting on the 30 mediums to show up from our vendor. We're waiting on Nancy to finally come in today because she's always late. Okay. Not to pick on anybody named Nancy. That's just the first name
You're waiting on artwork approval. You're
waiting on art approval. We're waiting on payment. What are we waiting on?
Or you're having to purchase more because you can't get stuff done. So where I see it in the production and I live in that screen room space, is my favorite question is, how many screens are you reclaiming? And they'll give me a number. And then my next question is, how many should you be reclaiming? Oh, I'm reclaiming 25 a day. How many should you be reclaiming? I need to be reclaiming 50.
I'm reclaiming 25 a day. How many you're exposing? 37.
Yeah. So
you're going to have a problem on Thursday. I can guarantee it.
What will happen is you end up purchasing more screens that you can't reclaim fast enough and use and cycle fast enough.
Yeah.
Keep doing that. And
Well, can't we just get Billy to work faster?
yeah, no. And this is how I came up with it, because I was at an event and was teaching and stuff, and then we came onto this. Everyone wants to scale up, whether they go from, a smaller manual to a bigger manual, from a manual to their first automatic. Well, those things all take screens.
Yeah,
and that's where the bottleneck.
I know somebody that's getting their first automatic, and I've been talking to them for a while, and we were talking about making sure that everything is correct, and before you start doing the work. And he's like, and they're like, why do I need that? It's like, well, because the auto is going to allow you to make mistakes much faster.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And like, what do you mean? It's like when you were printing on a manual, you're just doing it one shirt at a time. When you're using your auto, okay, that's 15 or 20 shirts to just you print it incorrectly before you notice the problem. So anyway, and that's not really a bottleneck, but it could be if you don't have a quality control, because now you got to reprint those shirts and reorder the shirts. That could be your bottleneck, right? So your bottlenecks show up all the time. And by the way, if you're looking for something to read, and before Richard Greaves talks about it, we need to talk about the most fantastic book ever about bottlenecks, which is called The Goal, right? And so this is a book that's been out for 20 years. I don't even know. It's been out a long time. I read it at least once a year, and it's a really great book. I got it behind me. I'll find it in a minute. But it's one of these things where it's a fictional story, and you're going to learn about bottlenecks in that book. And there's a thing that came out of this book called the theory of constraints, which is all about you can only move as fast as your slowest part of the process.
Yep.
So in your shop or in your company, what is the slowest part of your process that's holding you back? That's your bottleneck, right? What is that, right? And in the book, the main character, he learns what this is by taking a bunch of Cub Scouts on a hike, and he plays around with the order that the Cub Scouts are hiking, right? And that's how he discovers what to do for his manufacturing plant, right? So I want you guys to be thinking about, what is the slowest part of your process? Is it sales? Is it financial? Is it consumables? Is it your equipment? Is your people? Is your training? It could be a whole bunch of stuff, right? By the way, a fun little survey experiment, right? Everybody right now list, if you're watching, what is your biggest bottleneck? What is the slowest part of your process? Put it in the chat. I think that might be a fun thing to do.
Or what was that you fixed, that you found out
something
about?
Like that. Right?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to. We'd love to hear that.
Poll and see what it is. And I can tell you, for a lot of shops, it's the sales to art to screen room journey.
Yep.
That's where people get tripped up. And lately it's been maybe with inventory, ordering inventory and having that come in. But I think that is getting cleaned up a little bit with the suppliers. But it's always been the sales to art to screen. And if you're an embroiderer, it's the sales to digitizing to the embroidery, that whole thing.
Right.
And I love Keisha's comment. I'm the bottleneck.
Good. We have another topic on that. Get ready.
Yeah. All right. So
she walked right into that one, didn't she, Marshall?
Yeah. So, by the way, Jennifer's here. Good morning.
Good morning, Jennifer.
Keisha says good morning.
Good morning, Keisha.
Our buddy Ray's here. Good morning. Artem's here. Good morning from sunny Seattle.
Artem, we had a great time last week.
It's only sunny in Seattle for 4 days?
A year, yeah.
Jeremy's here from Florida. Good seeing you.
Jeremy.
Ray says, I find that standing and just observing, even if you're not looking at anything, can cause employees to stay on point. It's the intimidation factor. Yes. When the lion is on the plane, the gazelles are nervous.
Yep, absolutely.
And I also observing, just watching people work and making notes, I found over the years has really enlightened me with things. And by the way, you might go over there and ask them, hey, and here's the key phrase, help me understand why you did it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Why, help me understand. I'm just curious as to why you did it this certain way, right? And just finding out, right? So that's good. Ray says many shops don't understand how to calculate a screen loop. Most shops should be 4 tiers.
Absolutely.
Screen 1, tiers for today. Screen 2, screens for tomorrow, or you'll be here all night reclaiming. Tier 3, screens to vary mesh counts. Tier 4, screens down for maintenance or remesh.
I like that.
That's good. There's Keith's comment. Frank's here. Good morning, Frank.
Morning, Frank.
Good talking with you earlier today. Brandon says dealing with customers that don't know what they want. That's good. That's very interesting. And Brandon, by the way, he does a lot of heat transfers.
Right.
Jenny says, screen cleaning, we're looking to a small automatic screen cleaner to help. There you go. So,
yeah, Jenny, didn't I send you a message and you never did reply to me on that or contact me?
I think there's some Blue Water thing in her future, right?
Oh, there's a couple things in Blue Water. There's some new stuff coming out for small market too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the high pressure in the box, so it competes with like the hydro thing, and actually for a fraction of the cost of what hydro. There's a shameless plug, but yeah, so
we're all about plugging our stuff.
Available through GSG. There we go.
Yeah. So what else is a bottleneck, right? Sales can be a bottleneck. For example, maybe you don't do a good enough job with your lead generation, right? So how are you going to close on a sale if you haven't done any presentations, right? So what's your lead generation like, right?
I want to touch on dealing with customers. Sometimes that bottleneck is the customer. Sometimes that's me on there. Yeah. Am I asking the right questions? Do I have the solutions in my back pocket? And am I giving them too many solutions?
Yeah.
Options. I don't give multiple options. I give them, if I can drill down to their pain point, here's the solution. I might have solution B and or C in my back pocket, but I don't throw it out there.
Well, also think about it. I know a lot of the folks on here are owners, right? So your bottleneck could be the fact that you think that you have to do everything.
True. Yeah, absolutely.
And so delegating, using a virtual assistant, hiring another person, like I was talking with a shop owner yesterday, and they were running a 2-auto shop, but they weren't running it with a full crew, right? So they're running 2 autos about 150 an hour. I'm like, well, why don't you just combine forces and run 1 auto at 400 an hour, right? And you'll be able to at least, like, you'll be getting more things done, right? And so we had that whole conversation. So it's really about, just different challenges, the way people look at stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right. What else is a bottleneck, Alan? What?
So Ray just posted on something on screen cleaning, of course, which I live in. And thank you, Ray. But sometimes bottlenecks are, upgrading, and doesn't have to go to an automatic machine. And I do this in one of my seminars. When you're reclaiming screens, it could be, we tend to skimp that where space is your friend. When you're trying to do a 2331 in the world's smallest washout booth, you end up getting the alligator arms and doing it. And, you're just wasting time on there.
Do that again?
The little alligator Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's like if you're at dinner with Ray Greenwood at dinner, he gets these, he can't reach a check. No, I'm kidding. That doesn't happen. I just throw that out there, and I am lying on that. So, and not that we all haven't been out to dinner together, but no. I just
I think sometimes, and speaking of reclaiming, right? If we look at our processes, right?
Yeah.
So we have a process, and I know this has happened in the shop that I ran, right? So we have a guy who's in charge of refilling the tank, right?
Right.
And it's getting a little low. And what does the guy do, Alan? He dumps a bunch of water in it. And then it gets a little low. And then what happens? A bunch of water in it, right? What are we not putting in the dip tank?
Chemical. And
so guess what happens? Nothing. Because the ingredients are now diluted, and now that's the reason why you're having problems, is because you're not following the procedure, right? Which is why I'm always advocating that you mix stuff for the dip tank in a separate bucket correctly, and then add that to the dip tank, and that way it's always the right concentrate.
Right. So, and you know what? Because then the answer, what most people do, I'll just add chemical then. No, because now you have no idea how much you've added and stuff.
Yeah, now it's too much, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then that eats all the glue on your frames if you're using.
If you do that in a dip tank, it's one thing. Man, you start doing it in a machine, now you're all out of whack. And
so it's kind of like a teeter-totter thing, right? So we want more than anything is balance, right?
Yep.
And Ray says you're so mean. It's not dinner tab that's kept, it's the bar tabs. The bar tabs are always more expensive than the dinner tabs, right?
Well, I don't drink a lot, so it doesn't bother me.
So. I've been known to have a good bar tab.
Yes, you have. I've been there with you.
Well, I also buy people drinks a lot. So
yes, I do too. I ended up buying more bar tabs more than I drank.
So. Right. All right. So anyway, the point here, though, is that you need balance. You need to make sure that things are not out of whack. And that's with anything, right? That could be with your diet. I mean, it doesn't have to be just business, right? So,
and, labor is a hard thing right now, but it could be people. It could be the wrong person. Marshall, you mentioned too, is that person. You've dealt with this more than I have in your business. That person might not be the right person in that job, or could be the bottleneck of your whole company too.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like, do we have the right people? Are they doing the right things? And are they doing the right things the right way? Right?
Absolutely.
Because if you don't have those things, maybe you've got an issue, right? And a lot of times we have people, but we haven't trained them, right? Or we haven't done what we need to do. And because in our next topic, we'll get into that, but it's like one of these things where I think just having a moment for analysis, self-analysis, really being brutally honest with yourself about what's going on, writing things down, and then creating an action plan to solve it. I think that's kind of a key thing. And a lot of this is just observation. Right. And we all make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. I'm just as human as everybody else. Right. But you have to be honest with yourself. You have to get past it. You have to figure it out and then change some stuff. Right. So, all right. So Lakeisha has a question. Would you recommend a dip tank for a small basement shop, or would we not be smart with the chemicals in such a small space?
It would be 100% look into it. It would be definitely look into it.
I think it's a ventilation question more than anything.
And you know what, with the right chemical in there.
Plus, you can put a lid on the dip tank. It doesn't have to be.
And the right dip tanks come with lids and all that. So, like the product we have, Easy Strip Super, has no solvents in it. There's no flashpoint whatsoever. It's like a stencil remover type product with surfactants in it, which aren't solvents. So the evaporation is more like a water product. So there's not a lot of fumes or anything for ventilation. And so you're using less chemical in there. But yes, because it gets you into a 1.5, 2-step process.
Right.
It's something I would definitely take a look at in my recommendation.
Ray says, must keep a log on dip tank chemicals in busy shops, and also pH strips are your friend. I carry a pH meter, best $120 I've ever spent.
And I'm going to say something that Ray will end up calling me. We usually talk on Friday evening. Something this will be an hour discussion and all that. I'm not the huge pH strip guy. on it. If it is just, Ray, I know we're going for, if it is just a stencil remover product, yes, that can work, because you're going to want your pH level, where stencil removers are more acidic than on there, and you're going to watch that. But if you're using, again, dip tank's the right chemical, we're talking something that it's not just the stencil, the SMP, or that's in there. SMP is sodium metaprydate, which is what's in all stencil removers, which you can measure. But the surfactant technology is parts that's softening the ink, and that can't be measured with pH. So I'm not 100%, sold on that as much. I don't put as much stock in. So that's the Alan Howe opinion.
This chemistry commercial brought to you by
the good people of GSG, distributor of Easy Way Systems.
Yeah. So Ray says, yes, stencil only combination tank is a different animal.
Yeah, and it is more and more stencil removers are now running surfactants in them. I ran into this with auto reclaims. A lot of people like them, and I'm okay if you use them. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything if you're using them, but I'm just not 100% sold on it. So,
yeah. So, all right, let's get out of that rabbit hole, right?
So, and that's just, this is two guys, technical guys going, okay, this is different.
I want us to bring us back to reality here. So,
yeah.
So anyway, the thing is your bottlenecks, okay? And the next topic is all about getting out of your own way, right? And I think and the reason I want to talk about this is I think a lot of people do a lot of damage to their company or what's going on because they're not really self-aware, right? Or what, and I think sometimes it pays to have different opinions. It pays to talk to other people. It pays to take a class. It pays to really observe and see what's going on. And I think not everybody, but a lot of folks in this industry, are they're like in their cave.
Yeah.
And we don't like to get out of our cave much, right? And I'll just leave it at that, right? And we don't really know how everything works.
Yep.
Okay. And nor are we interested in learning. So that's kind of a good metaphor here, right?
That's
what do you think on this?
Well, I put that into the don't confuse me with facts. My mind is made up. Yeah. And the facts that are, we always, the scenario of, you can't see the forest because of the trees on there. You only see what's right in front of you, but you don't see past that at all. And, it's just in your own little bubble. But yeah, and, Keisha had earlier, what's the bottleneck? And when she said, I'm the bottleneck, this is for you, Keisha. What do you have to get out of the way of? And sometimes, especially, I guess, Marshall, I see when you have built a business or had a hand in that and it's grown and all that, that ends up becoming your baby. And you start thinking, I'll just handle it myself. And, where it's time to start, you need to train people and delegate and be able to do that and get out of your way. Let them do it. Let them grow. Let them move, because there's only things in your position only you can do. When you were at Visual, Marshall, you had, you were VP of operations. And so,
I was the COO, right?
So whatever. Okay, better. Yeah. So, but you would go down and on there, you didn't do everything. You would delegate and go, okay, what do we have to do? And you would lead the ship, because those people can do it. But there was only things you could do in your position.
Well, you get so the thing that I want kind of throw out here is the fact that the answers are out there, right? It's not like Alan or I or anybody invented this. Okay. And although some people do invent things, Jeff McHugh, or whoever, right? But it's like one of these things where you've the knowledge is out there. You just have to go get it, right? And I think a lot of times people They make excuses as to why we can't do stuff or whatever, and it's just self delusion sometimes, right?
Yep.
And and it's just you start picking at things and start looking at things, and you'll discover that there's a better way of doing something, and you just have to try it, right? And remember, the word fail is an acronym, right? It means first attempt in learning, right? You're not going to do a really good job at it the first time you do something. It's going to take a minute to learn how to do it, right? And so a lot of people, they don't want to try the new thing because of the journey it's going to take to learn, right? And so that's kind of what sometimes I see, when I talk to people or listen or whatever, and think about this, think about a trade show, what would you think overall for the whole industry? What, 10% go to a trade show a year?
If that.
Most people don't go. Why don't they go? Or take a class or watch a video or whatever, right? Because most people aren't doing that.
Yep. I don't have time. It's too far away. No, I don't go. I can't, I know what I'm doing. I don't have a problem. And you know what? It's 1,000 excuses. Instead of, I'm going to invest in my business. I'm going to go network. Yeah. I'm going to go learn something that maybe it's not even in the class, but somebody you met in the class.
Right.
And maybe it's an idea that might not be now, but 5 years down.
Yeah. And what we want more than anything is to find the answers, and, so somebody's doing it this way, somebody's doing it a different way, somebody's doing a third way. Which one of these is going to work best? What we want more than anything is to be effective.
Yep.
Right. And sometimes the cheapest solution is not the right solution.
Right.
Right? And sometimes you want to spend, if you spend, sometimes, you get what you pay for, right? But sometimes if you spend a little more money, you'll find that you're more effective. And in the long run, that actually saves you more time and energy and effort and labor and money, right? But you got to buy the right thing, right? And so
and sometimes it's you go to a trade show and then you find out you don't even know what the problem is you had. So Marshall, we were just talking. I was at an event this week I spoke at, and there was a lady in there. Her and her husband had just bought the shop and trained by the previous owners on there. It's small and all that's fine. And later at lunch, I ended up at a table with them. Her husband wasn't in my seminar, and he started asking me, he goes, my wife loved everything you had to say. Thank you. Let me buy you lunch now. But
was it a free lunch?
It was a free lunch. So after Ray Green would pick up the check. No, I'm teasing. So anyways, but he said, he goes, I do all the screens and stuff, and we were told that, pinholes are just common, and there's always going to be pinholes. And she was standing next to him, goes, shaking her head because I didn't say anything. He goes, she's telling me in your class, you said absolutely not. I go, absolutely not. And then he goes, so what's the problem? I go, well, you have pinholes because you want pinholes. He goes, what? I don't want pinholes. I go, you must. You have them. I said, let's go through your process. And I said, you don't have to have pinholes. Nobody should.
Right.
I go, what's the reason you're having them? Let's figure it out. So, yeah.
Right.
And they just don't.
And here's the other thing is I think a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to solve the symptom and not the root cause of the problem.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What's a simple solution? Band-Aid for pinholes. Here's a thing of blockout. Have at it.
Yeah, right.
You know what? What's the solution? Well, let's figure out why you're having pinholes. Is it dust? Is it bad films? Is it exposure? Is it underexposure? Is it improper drive? There's 1,000 things it could be, or a combination of.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Lakeisha says, this is something that's taken me way too long to learn. I'm still learning. That's great.
And you know what? So are we. It never ends. We're always
learning. Like Charles says, hey, guys. Thanks, Charles.
Hey, from New Mexico. Yep.
And Mike just got here. I jumped in late, but with the delegation, I want to look into a revamp of our screen systems. Is there any low-cost solution to screen processing?
Just expensive. Define low. So first of all, when I see low cost solution on there, is define low cost.
Yeah.
How revamped do you want in your screen systems and all that? That's a bigger question.
Well, do you want it to work properly, or do you want to spend less money on the stuff, and then you're spending more labor or whatever? Oh, he answered, right? So hold on. He wants an automatic for under 25,000.
An automatic reclaim? Yeah, it's not going to happen. Well, it could. There's another question on there. How many screens a day are you reclaiming? And then the other question after you answer is, how many screens should you be reclaiming?
Yeah.
So it could be just a tweak of a process that you already have.
Right.
It could be the purchase of a machine, a capital expenditure. There's a lot of things. And Michael, give me a call. That's something we could discuss after. It doesn't have to be a huge purchase. It just could be, okay, let's change some things up.
Right. Lakeisha says, dang, I have pinholes too, but that's because there are actual holes in my screens.
Well, that's not a pinhole.
Something is eating them. Even my new screens have holes.
No, if you have holes in that's called the mesh. That's how they get it. No. If you have holes in your screen, something's putting them there. There's nothing you should be using that's eating the mesh away. There are things that'll do that, but that's not that.
Yeah.
Pinholes are in the stencil. And if you have pinholes, I'm going to start saying that you have them because you want them there. There are things and just some things we can look at that can do it. I can do it. Marshall can do it. The people at Graphic Solutions can do it. But let us know how we can help.
Right.
New screens. If your screens have holes, and even your new screens do, you need to find a new supplier for screens.
Mike says you need to come visit us. Yes, reclaim. He's going to call you.
We can do a video thing before I fly out to California, but that'll be fine.
And Charles says you're probably blasting holes into your mesh with your sprayer.
Possibly, but then again, I have graphic accounts that are running 3,500 PSI sprayers, and your mesh should not, if it's done right, it shouldn't do it.
So we're a little behind schedule today, so let's do our GSG Pulse. And Alan, what are we talking about today?
Not screen printing. We are talking about direct-to-garment pods.
Yeah, and somehow the thing left.
Because remember when we were setting up, you went away for a minit. And,
I don't know why StreamYard keeps kicking me out.
I don't know. Maybe it's me doing it.
So anyway, so we want to talk about DTG pods, and in the Pulse here, they've got they've got some pod systems, right? So they've got low, medium, and high volume production, where you're looking at different setups and using banks of pods. And I've been to a bunch of shops that have pods, and this is a really great way to get a lot of DTG orders out the door. So the idea here is that most people are using the Synergy system, which allows you to pre-treat the shirt and going down the belt to the pods, and then you print the shirt, and then the belt going the other way dries the shirt. And so you really, two people here can handle all of those printers, right? And it's a really good system, and you can crank out some work, right?
Absolutely.
So if that interests you, call GSG. They would love to quote you and talk about that. And so there you go.
Especially if you're doing a bunch of one-offs, you have stores, you're doing small runs and stuff like this. This just keeps them going. It is an incredible proven system.
Right.
And Marshall, we've talked for the money of like larger direct-to-garment ones are. Shoot, I'd be going a couple brothers and be done with it.
All right. So how is somebody posting as me?
I did.
You posted as me?
Well, if you go up, Michael asked Alan, can you
Yeah.
put the phone number?
Oh, I see. Oh, it's
So
under
I
my-
just put it in the message there. And because
Oh,
I'm, you know, your
I
name's
thought
on
somebody had hacked into me.
no, your name's on the account.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I
All
can
right.
say incredible things. Alan is the man. Thank
No,
you.
yeah, great. That's
So-
awesome. So I've seen it too when they don't use the right pressure washer nozzle or hold too close.
Could happen, but then I'm going to say there's a problem with your mesh.
So this is Alan's cell, not mine. So
Yep.
just, you know,
Alan's A cell. I have
B cell.
yeah, I have an A and B cell. So no.
Lakeisha says, I've thought about it too, Charles. I played around with my pressure washer, but I still get them. Maybe I just need to mess with it some more.
I'm still going to say it's not the pressure washer. I have very rarely ever seen that, unless the mesh was subpar to begin with.
Well, you never know. Maybe she's got some kind of, high-tech Star Trek pressure washer. Who knows?
If you're using a caustic haze remover, that actually works by removing a layer of your thread and the mesh. It will weaken it at times, but yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into our third topic, which is all about time management. And I hear this all the time. I can't do it because I'm just too busy.
Yeah.
And then my response to that sometimes is, you didn't do it because it's not a priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
If things were a priority, you would have done it. So it's like, what is the thing, right? It's about getting things done, right? So how are you blocking off your time? When are you doing things? What is getting in the way of getting things done? I think a lot of times we play around and mess with stuff, Facebook or whatever, or
right.
Getting a cup of coffee and talking about the game last night or whatever goes on, right? We're not doing the things that we need to be doing. And that's the reason why things don't get done, right? And so a really good thing to do is to do a time audit. If you're one of these people that you want to kind of figure out how to do things better, you can do this with just a simple legal pad and a pen.
Yep.
And you start writing down where you're doing stuff. If you want to go high tech, you can use some software like Timular, which allows you to track different things. I've done that before. That's a really good thing. Or just other things, right? So there's an app I've used before called Clockify, which allows you to track things. It's pretty much free, right? So, but it's really just about kind of understanding where you're spending your time. But mainly it's about managing your time by prioritizing things.
Correct.
One of the things I teach when I go to shops is to pull all of everything that we need to print or embroider or whatever today for tomorrow's production and line it up next to the equipment in the order that you're going to be printing it in. We do this at the end of every day. So when we come in tomorrow, everything's ready to go. You've got all your inks and your screens and your shirts and your samples and your work order documents. You've got all that stuff already lined up and ready to go. Everybody on the team knows what to do, so you can get more done a day, right? But maybe you're not a printer. Maybe you're an artist. Maybe you're a salesperson, right? It's the same thing. What are we doing tomorrow? Do you have that organized today? So when tomorrow happens, we absolutely know what we're doing, right?
First time I did a time audit study, man, it had to be early in my career, and it was on a personal thing. And I did it, for a week. It was like every day for every 15 minutes, I marked what I did. Boy, you find out how much time you're wasting, especially when you're young and you're working from home and you're going, oh, I did spend an hour because the Good Gilligan's Island Marathon was on in the middle of the day. You learn stuff like that. Did I really need to go up to the Quickie Mart and get a pack of gum?
Yeah, right.
It's these little things on there. What is pulling you away? And Marshall, I know you were just talking because we all fall into this trap. You said you're just way out. You so much stuff to do, not getting done and stuff. And to me, Marshall is the most organized guy in the world on there. I mean, I work with him on stuff on there. It's like, oh my gosh, on multiple things. And he probably looks at me and goes, he is so disorganized.
Yeah, I'm just overwhelmed right now.
And
A lot of people want stuff, and the problem I have is a lot of this is my own fault. A lot of the things that I'm doing only I can do because
right.
I need to write the article or I need to film the video because I'm in it, right? So that's my challenge is I don't have a clone, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a priority thing. But I just have but let me tell you, I make mistakes. I drop the ball. I just did that really embarrassingly on something, and it's just, I'm not going to get into that, but it's just one of these things that sometimes things happen, right? So time management matters, right? Because you want to be organized, you try to do stuff, and all you can do is learn from it, right? And you just try to get better. So,
well, yeah.
Here you go. Following Marshall's techniques, we cut days off our production time.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks, Davis.
And you know what?
Checks in the mail.
these are life lessons. So last week before our show, my nephew Miguel was here at my house. He was painting the inside of my garage. And Miguel you guys have seen him on here. He logs on, listens sometimes as Puff Carrot. So, but Artem was there and Marshall was there. So he came in before Wallander came in and he was talking and all that. And Miguel, he's not listening right now, I think. Miguel has OCD. So he was great at painting my garage. But he thinks, I have to get him on like, okay, let's make sure your time's scheduled. I can do it. I'm better than that. But I was telling about Marshall on it, and Marshall's his hero now. He loves having everything scheduled and how he is. And so Marshall just was giving him some life lessons. And, it's all about, and I forget what you said. Oh, what do you do with your time? Your time is worth money. And stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, you can always make another $1, but you can't make another minute.
And that was it, because I paid him to do the garage, and I'm saying, okay, here's how, because he works for contractors and stuff like that. He loves doing stuff like that and wants his own business. I said, okay, here's your amount. Now, if you get it done in 2 days or a day and a half, you're going to make $100 a day. You can screw around and go slow, and it take you 5 days. Now you've made $40 a day. And his eyes get kind of hit right that. And it's all about time management. And I see this, I'm getting some quotes on, sealing my garage floor and having a patio put in.
Yeah.
And I see this, with customers and with clients and with contractors that, gosh, these contractors take so long. And sometimes there are things that happen. And it just, they make so less money because they don't get things done quicker.
So I read this book last week.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Fanatical Prospecting by Jed Blunt.
Ooh.
And it's a really good book. And he's in here, he's talking about sales. And one of the things that they were talking about was how sales really happen because you've done the prospecting, you've done the lead gen, right? And then now you know who to call, right? And one of the things he says in there about sales is the fact that a lot of people, there's the golden hour, golden hour, I forget his term, on selling, where these are when your clients are going to be available, right?
Yep.
You can't call them at 10 o'clock at night. You're going to call them during the day, right? So what happens with a lot of people in sales is they do these activities like your expense report or your presentation for your slides or whatever. That's what we're doing during our golden hour. Okay. And so what happens is you're really busy. Okay. You're really busy doing a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, we didn't sell.
Right.
We didn't close the account because we filled out our expense report. Right. And so in the book, he's like, well, when should you fill out your expense report? Is when your customers aren't available.
Absolutely.
Right. When should you make that presentation? When your customers aren't available. It's like, but that's not fair. That means I got to do it at 6 a.m. It's like, life's not fair. Do you want to be the top sales guy or do you want to be fair? Right.
What is making you money? In sales, as someone who's in sales, I hate sales reports or I hate expense reports, but I love getting my expenses paid.
Yeah. So what we need to be doing though, is we need to be doing the things, right? When do we need to be doing that? We need to be doing them when you should be doing them and shouldn't be doing them. Like, so think about, in your shop or your time management, when should you be doing X, right? Is it interfering with other things? Is it setting up the result that you want at the end of the day? So just think about the outcomes that you want, right? So, when should the art be done? Way earlier. When should the screens be burned? Way earlier, right?
Yep.
If you're burning screens the day you're printing, something's wrong.
Yep.
Okay. Everything should be handled multiple days before you're doing the actual work. And that way it's just easy. So everything should have a process. Part of the process is when things are due.
Absolutely.
Okay. So anyway,
sales guys, we are famous for wasting time, of staying busy with stuff that does not make us money, Marshall.
Yeah.
And, for people doing paper sales reports, there should be no reason. I use a program called Expensify. And I was using that program before any of the companies I worked for had it, just because it kept it there. When I do my expenses, immediately I take a picture of the receipt. It goes right in there, date, time, what it is, bam. End of the week, it gets sent. It's already in there. And it's incredible. When to call, that golden hour of stuff. For me, it's getting appointments with the production manager. And, when you call the production manager, do not call them when they open the plant. It's 6:30 in the morning. They're trying to get stuff ready. Don't call them when the shop opens. The whole screen print shop opens at 10 o'clock and everybody's getting, they're probably in a meeting. It's about 9:30 is the perfect hour. Or if production goes home because they start early at 3 and he's there till 5, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, right. So there's the right time to do stuff.
Yep.
Right. So that's time management. So
absolutely.
I think a lot of people, and this could be in any department in your shop, when is the right time to do the activity?
Yep.
Right. And it's like the old Chinese proverb, whatever, or Japanese proverb. When's the right time to plant a tree? 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
What's the second best time? Today.
Yep.
So, it's just about doing stuff, right?
When should you have started putting away for retirement? 25 years ago. When's a better time now? Immediately.
Yeah, right. You just got to do it, right? And all right, so rounding things up, we got about 6 minutes left or so. I want to share something that's happening next week, which is all about Shirt Lab Summit, right? So Shirt Lab Summit is an amazing event. Okay, so we've got 51 of the best top minds in the industry, but also outside the industry, sharing their thoughts on the customer journey. So the customer journey is from lead prospecting all the way to follow-up sales, right? So there's these little steps along the way. We have identified 8 segments, and what we did is we got a bunch of people. We asked them the same questions. And then what you have is, for these different topics, for the 8 videos, is you have different people telling us how they do it. And what's really interesting here is that everybody does things slightly different, uses different software, they have different mind mentality or different whatever. So you really get a big picture about how other people do things, right? So this is a free event. We're trying to get everybody to watch the videos next week on the 18th and 19th. But if you sign up, you can start watching them now. We got a whole bunch of people watching them right now. So the idea here is that there's 3 questions for each topic. And then we have a bunch of folks answering each topic, right? And so that broadens the information that you get, and it's 100% free. We have an upgrade if you want to do it, where you get a bonus answer, and you get there's a transcriptions that you can get, and audio files you can download if you like to listen to podcasts instead of watching videos or whatever. So you can get all that, but it's a free event, and it's a really fantastic thing. I've personally been working on this since November, so this is a lot of work. So here are all the people that are in the video. You probably know a bunch of these folks. There's people that are on the call today that are a part of this. Alan did a thing, and Richard's in it, and so this is really kind of a really good industry kind of folks that are doing some things. But there's people that are not in the industry who are also sharing what they do, right? And so this is kind of a really good thing for you guys to take a look at. You just go to shirtlabsummit.com. This is what you'll see. This is the website right here. And then, of course, here are all our sponsors. So we want to kind of thank them. GSG, of course, sponsors our Q&A show, but they also sponsor Shirt Lab.
Yep.
The money that these companies give Shirt Lab helps pay for this. I don't know if you can tell, but this website, the video editing, none of that's free. It costs us money to put stuff on, and these companies help us do stuff. So please thank them. If you talk to their rep, if you talk to their company, please thank them and say thank you for sponsoring Shirt Lab, because we want to do stuff later in the year and next year and stuff, right? So
and that goes a long way, Marshall, to sponsors. I know Easyway sponsors a lot of Shirt Lab stuff, and at Long Beach, I had some people come up and thank me for some stuff I did on Shirt Lab, and I said, well, I get to do that because of those people over there. And I had them go over and introduce themselves, and it was Sarah, our CEO, and Jordan, our marketing, and it means a lot to them when they know that their dollars are being spent and doing well. It is helping to educate, so that is huge. You can tell me, but I'm always going to pass it on to the higher ups and all that, and that does go a long way. So please let those people know that are sponsoring. If you appreciate it, it does help.
Yeah, this is the 4th year that we've done Shirt Lab Summit. In previous years, we just did interview style where we're talking with people about whatever they do, okay? And this year, we decided to kick it up a notch and not be satisfied with this and make documentary style movies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What do I know about that? Nothing. Okay. I don't know. So this is us trying to do something different and scaring ourselves silly. Okay. So you could argue that, it could be better. I'm sure it could be better. In fact, the next time we do it, it will be better. But right now, this is what we're doing. Right. So, but we highly encourage you guys to join us, shirtlabsummit.com. Next Tuesday, by the way, we're having a Zoom Q&A kind of hangout. On Tuesday, you can go to Eventbrite. I should have gotten the link up here, but we want everybody to join us. It's kind of an open house kind of Zoom call where you can go and listen and ask questions, and you can talk about your own customer journey. You can talk about the videos. You can ask questions. I know a lot of the speakers will be there because I've already seen them sign up. So it's going to be kind of a really fun event. That's Tuesday, April the 18th. But we'd love for you guys to join us and get signed up. So there you go. And
it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. So
I actually, as someone that's done stuff for you, I like this format, Marshall. I enjoyed the questions, and and I told you, I think my answer was different on how I'm not going to say at the top. You said no, that's right. We want to know how you do it.
Yeah, What's everybody has a different approach, right?
Yeah.
So if we hear, 4, 5, 6, 8 approaches, right? What happens is it's like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that too. Oh, I like this other thing, right? And you get some really good kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right, where are we? Jidintra says, thank you much for your dedication. Appreciate you.
Hey, Tendra, this is the second week in a row you've been on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And you're from
India.
India, yeah. So thank you so much.
And so Charles says, I'm excited for the latest Shirt Lab Summit. Thank you, Charles. Yeah. And he also says, also the latest video on the heat press transformation series is very interesting. Yes, Charles, that was a project I'm doing with stalls. I've got 3 more of those I'm doing this year, by the way. And for those, if you haven't seen it, and I think next week I'll post the link to that. But so I actually go into a shop and spend 2 days with them learning all about their business. And then it's kind of a coaching session, and that's being filmed. And then for that series, you see the results, right? So, and this was a shop I went to called Campus Clothes, and they're a really great shop. They do a lot of stuff in the Pittsburgh area. And so
I was gonna say, I know that shop. I used to work in Pittsburgh. I'm like, I know.
So it's a family-owned business. It's been around, multi-generational. They do some good work. So, but you know, we want to help them be better, right? So that's what the whole show was about, right? So anyway, so thanks, Charles. Appreciate you watching and commenting. And then he says it's 85 in New Mexico today.
Southern New Mexico.
Yeah. And he says, thanks. And then here's Lyra. Good day. Great job. Hey, Lyra, by the way, Shirt Lab Summit. Guess who, Alan, guess who's doing all the video editing and everything?
Miss Lyra.
Is Lyra. This is my virtual assistant chiming in from the Philippines today. And I want to publicly thank her for all her hard work and everything. She is awesome, right?
And I believe not just from Davao, Mindanao, I believe is where she's at.
Yeah. And by the way, her company she works for is right here, Legacy Virtual. They sponsor Shirt Lab now, right?
Oh, that's awesome. So great.
Yeah. So anyway, so she helped put this together. All the videos that you see, she had a hand in that. So really great.
So Lyra, thank you so much for everything. And for someone that's there, thank you for making me look not stupid. So
well, I'm sure she had to double the work. No, just kidding.
Oh, I'm sure that she did. You got charged extra for that. Oh no, Alan again. So yeah.
No, and Frank says, have a great weekend, guys. Appreciate you, Frank. And Lyra gave some stars or whatever that is.
Yep, that's what they are. So
all right, cool, awesome. Well, hey, we're over. So thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate you. We'll check you out next week.
Yep.
We have a guest next week. I can't remember.
We do. We have Simon from Techmar.
Great.
Coming. You know, and Techmar makes, I know him as a water-based pallet adhesives and spot cleaning, but man, there is so much more just for all industries, whether it's screen, whether it's embroidery and stuff. And it'll be a good show. And then we have coming up a couple weeks after, we have Gavin St. George.
Yeah.
It's going to be there.
So for Simon, right, is he going to send a real picture or am I going to use the fake one he sent?
He sent you the headshot.
Oh, that's his photo? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought his photo from when he is on his profile looks different than the photo that he sent.
No, he just took it. He showed it. So I was with Simon at I was at an event.
Never mind. I'm confused.
Yeah, I was at an event and it's so funny because Simon's usually is on here there, and he goes, so we're setting up, and of course Simon's from England originally and British, and he sees my booth next to him. He comes walking in and goes, starts causing a stink, goes, I don't want to be by him. I don't say anything. I just look and I go, does this man have a green card? You know, Simon is a great guy, you know, a great business, but he just looked at me and goes, hey, anytime you want me on Q&A, he goes, I'd be happy to. I go, okay, when you want to be on? Here's 2 dates. Are you serious? Like next week? I go, yeah. And so I started saying, he goes, are you double checking with Marshall? I go, Marshall will be fine with it. I said, I'm just sending an email to you and him. Yeah. And it came up, they're done.
Yeah. Alan's our talent booker.
And I do a poor job at it. I'm trying to do better. So,
all right. Well, hey, we got to go. So thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Have a great one, everyone.